I hope. I think I did. Yep. All right. How's everybody today?
Awake.
That's always a plus. There's one guy that comes into the store that works with me quite a bit who says any day that he's awake and not in jail is a good day. And I think some might argue that today is a day like that. Well, I did want to go over the quiz. Who here volunteered to go through the tools of artistic critique with us today?
I think I did. I can't remember if it was for today, but I can do mine today.
All right. Which item is it? Because as we're on here, I will try to pull up a photo of it.
So I was thinking on doing the wire sculpture, and it's my own sculpture. I did someone else's last Tuesday.
Okay, so the wire sculpture. All right. I am seeing if I can pull up a photo of it right now that I can then uh, put on the screen and share with everybody after we're done with the quiz. So let's see. I'm scowling because when you get over 30, scowling helps to think better as you're working with computers. I don't know if any of you knew that, but it is a fact. Alrighty. Okay, and Camilla, it's the flowers, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All I have is it looks like a just the black line drawing on white paper is the way it is. Is that the one we're going to be using?
No, it should. I thought that maybe we were gonna use the one that was in the discussion.
Okay, I can do that. Give me just a sec. All right. Let me do this. Here we go. All right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I like this photo so much better because it does such a good job addressing a lot of the things we were talking about in the earlier submission. So that's great. Okay. Um, what I will do is do a screen share then because I have this pulled up and then you can just talk about it. Is that going to work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right. All right. Excellent. Okay. I see a lot of people here. The first code word for today is flabbergast. All right, excellent. And we are just going to go right into the quiz, if that's all right with you guys. I'm going to pull that page up and then do a screen share. I'm going to try to, is it okay with you, Camilla? We're going to do the quiz really fast, and we'll do your tools of artistic critique, and then we'll finish up. Does that sound all right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and now I'm going to do the share my screen thing if I can. There we go. All right, can everybody see this? Question 1.
I can see it.
Okay, good. These 3 chapters in this quiz is part of it is an overview of everything else you've talked about, but also part of it is just trying to be aware of surface texture. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be just doing a couple of things where we play with the ideas of surface texture, both visual and physical, or tactile, and sometimes, most of the times, those two kind of blend into each other. But first, I want to go around and I want to have everybody say at least one adjective that you can use to describe texture. The first couple people, it's going to be simple. The next one, it might be a little bit of a struggle. But let's just go around and have everybody say one or two words that describe texture.
Smooth.
Smooth. Excellent. Next.
Rough.
Rough. Excellent.
Soft.
Soft. Okay.
Bumpy.
I'm sorry. What was that one?
Bumpy.
Bumpy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next one. Good.
Sharp.
Sharp. Good. Next.
Slick.
Slick. Good. Next one.
Coarse.
Furry.
Furry. Excellent. Coarse. Good. Keep them coming. Okay, this is a good time to do roll call too. Kayla, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, what was the texture you said?
Sharp.
Okay, excellent. Sarah, what's your texture?
I'll go with uneven.
Uneven. Okay. Camilla.
I'm here.
Okay, what texture do you want to go with?
I'll go with rough.
Okay. Nicole?
Here, I said soft.
Excellent. Bailey. What was the texture you
I
said?
said smooth.
Smooth. Okay. Madeline. Are you here? Okay. Emma.
Coarse.
Course. Okay. Grace.
Bumpy.
Okay. Kelly. Kelly, you here? Do you have a texture? Catherine. Alrighty. How about Taylor? Taylor, what was the texture you said?
I said furry, and then I realized it was on the screen.
No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Okay. JC, how about you? Okay, Kaylee, I see your note. Okay, so you said abrasive. Excellent. JC. All right. How about Alexis?
There we go. Hello. Stiff?
Stiff. Okay. Sure, let's go with it. Brianna. Excellent.
I said slick.
Slick. Brooke. All righty. How about Lauren?
How about spongy?
Spongy. I like that. David.
I was the second one to say anything. I said rough.
Rough. Okay. Hiram. How about Rachel?
Hi. My word is prickly.
Prickly. Okay. And Summer.
Squishy.
Squishy. I like that. Excellent. Okay. All right. Is Madeline, Catherine, JC, Brooke, or Hiram? Any of you guys around? Okay, we'll go on then. All right, excellent. But sometimes I don't know. I find when we talk about stuff like this, if we start listing 12 words, the first 8 are really simple to come up with, and then after that, it's a little bit tough. But as you write these down to submit for this question, please don't include any of the 6 that are already written. But also think about things like what's the feel of your toes in the bottom of pond water? You know, or have any of you guys ever gone to one of those things where you stick your feet in and the fish eat all the dead skin? What kind of texture is that? So think about different adjectives that people may not normally think after you get the first half dozen or 8 written down. But excellent. Yeah, we're talking about texture. Okay, now here's a good question. The traditional material used for casting a final product is what? This is also considered like one of the high-end media for sculpture. I will give a hint. It starts with the letter B. Anybody want to say? What?
Bronze.
Excellent. Very good. Yes. Bronze is like the hoity-toity ultimate for sculpture. And I don't know. I've done bronze sculpting before, or bronze casting before, and it's been around for quite a while. And when done properly, it can look really cool. I would like you guys to write down this artist's name. His name is Joan Miro, Joanmiro, and just look up some of his stuff online. He was a guy who about 120 years ago, right around that area, he would start finding random pieces of stuff, put them together, and then make bronze sculptures out of them. And he was trying to really jolt the art world into thinking that a lot of things can be art, not just what everybody expected. So yeah, excellent. Okay. In many cases, artificial lighting has more control and is therefore more desirable to the artist. Is that true or false? We're not saying in every case, but we are saying in many cases. So is this true?
Yeah, I'd say it's true.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you're doing an exhibit or a show and you're wanting to set it up, you want to get everything exactly right to present it in its best quote unquote light for your audience. So yeah, definitely. And do you guys remember French and his photos of Abraham Lincoln? The sculpture of Abraham Lincoln. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he showed in one of them the lighting what came from below, and it makes Lincoln look like he had just farted or something. He looked very surprised. Yeah, so it does make a lot of difference. Okay, question 4. Casting is a simple and direct process. Is this true or false?
I would say false.
You are absolutely right. Casting involves a lot of so-called moving parts. There's a lot of things that you have to get just right. For example, if you're casting in bronze, most of the time, the easiest way to do it, the cheapest way to do it is lost wax. But if your mold has cooled down a little bit after you've melted the wax down, or if you put some cold bronze into the hot bronze that's up at over 2,000 degrees, you'll get a lot of problems. I have a really gross story to share with you guys. Remind me next week and I'll tell it in class. But yeah, casting is not in any way a simple and direct process. It's the steps sound simple, but there's a lot of stuff that you got to get just right. So yes, excellent. Okay, here's a kind of a tricky one. Question number 5. Visual texture can only be seen with the eyes. Is that true or false?
Is it true?
It sounds like it should be because it's saying visual texture. But and I appreciate your bravery in coming out and saying that. It's actually visual texture can be seen primarily with the eyes. That's how we mostly first interact with it. But on our sculptures, a lot of the times we will see a physical texture that, because of light and shadow, becomes a visual texture as well. And so you can, a lot of the times, also, the things around your home that are visual, that have visual texture, you can also touch and feel with your fingers and feel the physical texture as well. As we're working with texture, almost every texture is a mix between physical stuff that you can actually touch and feel and visual, because 9 times out of 10, the physical texture with the light and shadow becomes something that you're also seeing visually. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the answer to this, question number 5, visual texture can only be seen with the eyes, is false. It can also be, a lot of the times, the visual texture is a byproduct of the physical texture too. So it's both. Question number 6, natural light is always changing and is not fully under the control of the artist. Is that true or false?
True.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys remember the story about Monet painting the Notre Dame? Does anybody want to hazard a guess how many portraits he did of the Notre Dame?
Wasn't it like 32?
I think that's how many are surviving, yeah. Do you remember why he did so many?
He painted them in all different like weather types and light types at different times of the day. Or it was either the same time of day with different weather types, or it was different times and different weather types.
Yeah, your second one is right. Different times, different weather types. And I remember reading about him telling friends how angry he was at his inability to do a painting instantly, because he was trying to catch how the light was at every given moment. So he was incredibly frustrated. I think that there were a lot more that he did that are just lost because he got angry and threw them away. But he could do one of those in less than 20 minutes, if I remember right, because he was trying to paint at how the light was at that particular instant. And I'm really glad he did that. I'm sorry that he was frustrated with them, but I'm glad he did it, because there are so many beautiful portraits of the Notre Dame because of him. But yeah, natural light. I work with stained glass, and one of the things that is kind of fun but is also a challenge is it is never the same from moment to moment. Once it gets put up in a window, one of the things that's exciting is that it's always different, reflective of weather conditions and time of day. But one of the things that's frustrating as well is that it's not static and it's always changing. So yeah, the question for this is, or the answer for number 6 is true. Now we look at these two things. The James Turrell, that is lit entirely by natural light, and the Dan Flavin piece is lit by a grid over unnatural light at the end of the corridor, I believe. I think that's the case. If not, it's certainly designed to look like it's lit by fluorescent light. So on this, what I need you to do is write one sentence about James Turrell and his piece, and write a separate sentence about Dan Flavin and that piece, and compare why they are different. And just off the top of your head, what is one of the things you think about the James Turrell piece? Let's think of a mood word. What is a word that describes a mood that you see with the James Turrell piece?
Peaceful.
All right, good. What's another one?
Uplifting.
Good. What's another one?
I would say like mystical or even spiritual.
All right, excellent. Those are all really good. Now, if we take a breath and then look at the Dan Flavin piece, let's come up with 3 words that are mood words for that too. What's one mood word for this?
I think it makes me really curious. Like I want to walk in and see what's at the end.
All right, good, excellent. So curiosity. What's another one?
I would say almost like uneasy.
Why is that? No, I
Because
like
of
that.
because of the angle that it's at. Like the James Turrell one makes me feel just like peaceful and like all is right. But then the Dan Flavin one is like, because of the angle at which it's at, it just like makes me uneasy. I don't know.
No, I think that's excellent. And I think one thing that kind of contributes to that is that the angles are not entirely even, are they? Right, that's a really good observation. Excellent. All right, let's get a third mood for that.
Just going off of what she said, it looks askew. It looks very like, it makes you curious, uneasy. I feel like we've already nailed it. It's so hard.
Yeah, it feels imbalanced, I think. Is that a good word?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, good. Excellent. Yeah. And so what we've just done is basically what I'm looking for in the answer. James Turrell piece, just say, hey, because of these elements, it makes me feel this way. Dan Flavin, this piece, because of these elements, it makes me feel this way. And because of their different use of lighting, it completely changes the mood. So that's basically what you're doing for the answer. So excellent, guys. Good job. All right, now this one, you're going to have to look up the word in the text because it will not accept an answer if it's not spelled right. When I go through a grade, I will look, and if it's not spelled right, but I know what you're trying to spell, then I give you the credit anyway. But yeah, when you go through the textbook, you'll definitely want to double check the spelling of this word. And again, the quiz is completely open book. What are these guys doing? When you look at that jacket on the left-hand side and that banana peel on the right-hand side, what do they look like? I mean, does the one on the left, it looks like a leather jacket? And on the right, it looks like a banana peel. But is it shocking to find out that they are made of completely different materials than that? Would you guys believe in a million years that leather jacket is made out of ceramic?
I would with the jacket, but the banana peel looks pretty convincing.
Yeah, there's a French term called trompe l'oeil. It is spelled correctly in your textbooks, and that's the spelling that's for the quiz. But another term for it is fool the eye. And this is when we deal with, remember that the line that we wrote up on the board where at one end was done objective and the other end was realistic and abstract goes in a big portion in the middle. These are hyperreal or super real sculptures where they're designed to look almost more real than the actual thing. But yeah, it can be, I don't know, I think it starts, when people do this, it starts moving away from sculpture to sculpture and starts moving it towards sculpture as conceptual design or conceptual art, because they're really asking you what's the thing that makes the thing what it is. Is it the visual appearance? Is it the structure of it? But the answer to this is trompe l'oeil or fool the eye. Have you guys come across stuff like this before? Where you have the hyper real or the super real sculpture that is made out of a completely different material?
I've seen a couple. There was a trend a while ago where everything was made of cake, but it was like hyper realistic like this.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think in LinkedIn you can find all sorts of videos. There's several bakeries in India that really specialize in that. Yeah, the first time I saw a knife cutting through a gigantic brick of granite showing that red velvet cake inside, it kind of startled me. But yeah, you're right. I wonder if anybody ever eats those cakes, or they just do it for the party. All right, now here's something I want to hear from a few people on this. The manipulation of the surface of an object to enhance its beauty is intimately bound to cultural and historical definitions of beauty. I would like to hear some responses to this using an example of your own. First, how bound are we to cultural and historical definitions of beauty? And second, how much does that actually change over time? I would like to hear a couple of people answer or respond to each of those. First, how bound are we to cultural and historical definitions of beauty? Either forced to conform or forced to confront. Like Emma, Rachel, or Taylor, do you guys have an opinion on how bound we are to cultural beauty?
I mean, I think a lot of people have the same opinion on what is beautiful. I think that there's some sort of objectivity that people have agreed upon.
Do you think it varies from time period to time period or from culture to culture?
For sure, yeah. Style's always changing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very good. All right, let's hear from another person.
I think it definitely, like, beauty changes throughout time and throughout the world and stuff like that. But there is a certain, like, feature to art that even if it doesn't even if it doesn't like conform to beauty standards in a way, it still can be beautiful.
I think that's a really important observation, and I really appreciate that. And I think um, one aspect of that is there is some element about beauty that is outside of time and style. I think, and it's hard to put a finger on it, but there is something there, so that even if we cannot stomach a particular style, uh, like I used when I was a kid, I used to absolutely hate Victorian wallpaper, floral wallpaper. We can still appreciate the 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 craft that went into it, the balance, and a lot of the aesthetic elements of it. Even whether or not we actually like it, we can still recognize that there is beauty there. So I think that those are really good observations. Now, I would like to have an example. I would like to get somebody to state an example of culturally significant or culturally inescapable beauty, that kind of understanding for today. Another example that we may not respond to in the same way today, but an example from like years ago or from another country that those people consider beautiful. So who would like to go for a contemporary example?
I can go.
Okay.
The first thing that I was thinking of is how sometimes, how we're talking about how there's certain things in different cultures that we view as beautiful that the other might oppose. But something that I thought of was that a lot of people view sunsets as beautiful. Like there's not really a question about it, and the sunsets are different around the world, but we still view this thing as beautiful, and it has beauty to it.
I think that's a really good example. Very good. And oddly, it leads me to my next code word. Code word number 2 is padiddle. All right, excellent, Kayla. That was a really good example. That wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but that was an excellent example. I would like now an example of a very contemporary take on our understanding of beauty. That is inexplicably linked with contemporary culture in the West. Anybody?
Well, I would say like this could apply to different time periods, but I would say just like the beauty standard for like the female body and stuff. It definitely changes over time, and like right now it's a very specific like standard. Um and then but then like back then it was more valued to like be um bigger because of the value of like food and stuff, and that means like you're rich. And I don't know, I I would just say that's something that changes over time, and that wasn't really a contemporary example, but
No, I think
um
it's excellent. Yeah, it is very contemporary though. And this is a really good observation. It's a really sad observation because I think more pressure is put, particularly on people that identify as women today, than probably any other time period, because there's so much advertising being uh, forced on people to convince them that their body is not the right shape. I think you're absolutely right, Summer. That's a really good. That's a very good example. Can somebody give me an example of an idea of beauty that is more than 300 years old?
I was thinking about the ancient statues like Greek and Roman and how a lot of them have like the same face to me. I don't know if that was actually a thing or if I'm just imagining that in my head.
No, you're not imagining it. Yeah, you're exactly right. Praxiteles was one of the first sculptors that really defined that. But that specific face and head, it isn't designed to be any normal person's features. It was a head that was specifically constructed as a manifestation of that golden ratio, and that was a standard of beauty. There was a masculine head and a feminine head, and look at those Greek sculptures and stuff, and they all look like they're almost the exact same person. But yeah, that's a really good, very good example. Yeah, because people are not made like that. The average of people will approach that, but nobody follows it, or very few people follow it exactly. So yeah, excellent example. Thank you. So basically, for this response, just write 2 to 3 sentences about what we just discussed. So very good, guys. Now this one, I want you to go through and look at, see, uh, are there worked or natural textures uh, in these? Are they primarily worked, primarily natural? And some of these, like this number 2, even though it's industrial, the texture is all from crushed cars. So the artist really didn't manipulate the texture. Now this is kind of tricky. On this one, there are answers that are in the answer key. If you feel that your answer is right, even though it's different than the answer key, let me know and I'll give you the credit for it. All right? So there's 6 there. Now this one, I just want to spend just a couple minutes looking at this sculpture. What you're basically going to be doing for this answer is just write a paragraph of 4 to 5 sentences talking about the texture and the lines and how the mood is created with the textures in this. All right? And finish it up with, how did the artist involve you in the piece using those lines and the textures? First off, I would like somebody to comment on the texture. Second, I'd like somebody to comment on the gestural lines. And then I would like somebody else to comment on how you find yourself being involved. So first, who would like to comment on the texture of this piece?
It looks very rough and kind of bumpy and uneven.
It does. It does quite a bit. I believe that this is a bronze cast. So he actually cast the bronze to make it look very bumpy and uneven. Yes, excellent. Good observation. Second, who wants to comment on the line quality of this?
I feel like the line quality has like this kind of upward, almost inhale like movement to it. That's how I feel when looking at it at any rate.
Uh, Describe where you get the impression of the inhale, because I agree with you. I just want you describe how you get to that.
Yeah, it's so you start from the base and then it's like this tiny little part at the bottom and then it gradually expands as it goes up and then it kind of just dissipates at the top. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm doing a bad job.
No, no, no. I
But I
don't.
see it.
You think you're doing a good job, but that process of going from the narrow base up to the expansion of the up in the what we could associate as a chest area to dissipation, it does feel like an inhale, doesn't it? I think that's a really good observation. Excellent. All right, now third one. I would like one comment from somebody about how does this involve you as a viewer?
Even though it makes me curious because I know that it's bronze, but the look of it, it looks like it's really old and it's been weathered over time, and it makes you look at the smaller little pieces and exactly how it's still staying together because it's so fluid and breath like it seems like it's been living a lifetime and makes you want to look deeper into the details and see what's still there and what was on purpose and maybe what was created over time and on accident and naturally. It definitely draws you in and just is curious about the whole thing.
Those are really good observation. But because of that, it almost forces like an interactive conversation with it, doesn't it? As your mind starts generating questions about it, you look at it closer to kind of find those answers. Does that kind of describe the process that you're going through?
Yeah, it makes you question what his initial idea was and what process he got to get to the finished product. It's hard to step away and say that he's finished or say that you are finished. So it's very impressive. It makes you almost want to talk to the artist or the sculpture itself, and yeah, just say, what were you supposed to be, or I don't know. It's very interactive. I feel like.
No, I think those are really good observations, but it definitely feels like it's a lot older than 30 years, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, way older than that.
Yeah. No, that excellent observations. Okay, the third code word is Etruscan. I think that these are really good observations. When you answer these questions, just write those 4 to 5 sentences, pretty much describing and touching on each of those things that we talked about. And I think all of you guys did a really good job articulating what you were saying. Now I'm going to try to switch to, okay, I'm going to turn off screen share and we're going to go to, all right, yeah, Kelly, you're making some really good observations. Excellent, very good. I'm going to turn off screen share really quick here, if I can. There we go. And I'm going to pull up the image of the artwork that we're going to be looking at. All right, there we go. And I'm going to be doing screen share again. All right. So are you ready to apply the tools of artistic critique, Camila?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Let's see if it works. Let me know if it does. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good.
Okay. Awesome. So this is my sculpture, the one that I did with the wire. So there's a few stylized flowers that I put together with a few leaves around them. They have a simple vase that provides some support for them to stand by themselves. I used two different types or colors of wire that were used for each of these elements. And I would say that the flowers are very stylish and far from realistic, but the piece can be appreciated from any point of view. I feel like there's no really front and back. The wire seems to have been twisted without sharp edges for the petals of the flowers, and there's some more definition for the leaves, more sharp edges, I guess. Um, I would also say that there's some balance in the weight that comes from the black and silver wire, although the black wire um, has like bigger elements. The flowers are bigger than the leaves. Um, and I think the whole piece is very simple, and it seems like I think everyone could guess that they are flowers, even though they are stylish, as I mentioned. Um, I think that it could even be, I don't know, used as decor or something. And then I would say that it could have used some more wire or dimension in the petals and the leaves as well. The vase also looks okay to keep it standing, but it could also use some more wire to be more solid and just give it more support. And then I think the combination of two different wires adds to the piece and it makes it a bit more interesting. And yeah, although it could use some more wire and dimension, I think it's a pretty good piece.
All right. Could you go into? I think I heard definition, analysis, and judgment. Could you go into interpretation a little bit? Um, Pretending that you're not the artist, could you kind of interpret why the flowers are the way they are and the leaves are the way they are?
Yeah, I think it's a representation of, like I said, a little bit of stylization for the flowers, but it's um, the artist definitely has some interest in plants or flowers in general, so that's why the stylization, I think. And I would think that it's really hard to um, create flowers that look very realistic with wire, but I don't think it's impossible. It's probably possible, but it would take yeah, a lot of time and probably a lot more wire. But I think it's a representation of the interest of the artist, and yeah, does that work?
Yeah. One more question. Do you think that this is there? Could there be an emotion associated with this? And I'm thinking of, does this feel? I know it doesn't, but like oh, what is the word I'm looking at? Is it calming or is it frantic? Is it relaxing or is it intimidating? What kind of emotion do you feel the artist was putting into this?
I would say that it is a bit relaxing or calm. I just think of plants or flowers and like from my point of view, and I think of that. It's just something that makes me happy. Um, I think it's again like this is interpretation and it could be different for everyone, but that's how I would feel. That's just my reaction to flowers and like this piece in specific. So yeah, I would think yeah, it can be relaxing, it can be calm. I feel like positive things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is quite a bit more positive. There's a lot more calm, a lot more balance than there is any sort of frantic energy. So yeah, very good. Excellent. Well done. All right. Let's see. So that was a really good another good example of applying the tools of artistic critique. Next week, we want to do a couple more for Tuesday and a couple more for Thursday. So thank you very much, Camilla. That was excellent. What we're going to be doing next week is we're going to be returning to the carving a little bit. We're going to start talking about texture, and we're going to start talking about cocooning. So while you guys are working on your carving, we're going to try to have a couple more people do their uh, application of tools of artistic critique during class time. And I'm also going to be showing a couple images about cocooning, which is our last assignment. This weekend, I will also be sending out stuff on the PowerPoint, so we're going to be talking about that as well. What I'm really hoping people can do is if you can come up with your half dozen slides and record yourself talking about the slides where the only thing that shows up on the screen is the slides themselves. And then, so we have a video of you narrating what's going on in the slides. And if we can put that up on our YouTube channel, I think that would be the ideal. I don't know how we can do that. I'm going to see if I can find a tutorial to send to everybody about that. But I think that would be really awesome. But in the meantime, I think we've covered everything I needed to cover. The last couple of minutes that we have, what questions do people have? Any questions on the quiz? Any questions on the last couple assignments? All right, who would like to volunteer to do tools of artistic critique on Tuesday, and who would like to volunteer for Thursday? If we can get one or two people for each of those, that'd be great.
I can do Tuesday.
All right, super. Excellent.
I can also do
I can do
Tuesday.
Thursday.
Okay, so we got two people on Tuesday. We got one person on Thursday. I'm sorry, the Thursday person again, who else was that?
It's JC.
Okay, all right. So we got Nicole and Emma on Tuesday, JC on Thursday. Anybody else for Thursday?
I can go on Thursday.
All right, super. That's great. You guys are really plugging through this and we're getting it done, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, as soon as I get the recording back, I will plug this up on YouTube, and I will see if I can find out and send everybody a tutorial so that we can do the PowerPoint presentation for YouTube, if that's possible. All righty. In the meantime, I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful weekend. If there's no more questions, I am going to be sending out updates on due dates and everything like that over the weekend, and the last few assignments and everything.
I do have a question about attendance just real fast before we end.
Okay.
I'm the one that had the wonderful excuse yesterday about the car issues. And I just missed the first 15 minutes of class today, but I've been present the whole time. Do you still need me to send you the code words?
I saw your note and I marked you down as being present.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, that's a good thing. I'm going to send out an email as well dealing with attendance. If you have 3 unexcused absences, unmade up absences, that can severely affect your grade. The 3 ways to get credit for attendance is the code words and watching the videos, attending a different section of the class during the week that you missed, or even making up things that you've missed. And then the third is doing those virtual gallery tours. I would like everybody to look over your attendance scores, make sure that you're up to date, and do what you need to do to take care of that, because you can do a lot of really good work, and if you don't get credit for the attendance, it can bring your grade down. So please, thank you, JC, for bringing that up. That's a really good observation. And please make sure that I am giving you the credit that you deserve and the points you deserve for the attendance. All right? So I will get this out to everybody. You guys have an awesome weekend. And if there's no more questions, I will see you next week.